With that down, let's move on to our fifth and final main topic today. And our fifth and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Bishop Deus, who writes, "All hail, and all hail to you, Bishop. I saw that Twitter exchange James Gunn had with a fan regarding if main characters should die in the MCU movies, and Gunn gave a really good reason why they should. Just wondering what your position is on main characters dying in big franchise movies is." All right, thanks a lot for sending in the question, Bishop. And yes, so basically, here's the scenario. Somebody wrote to James Gunn, who is currently working on his Suicide Squad movie, and then is immediately going to roll over and start doing his Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Somebody asked him on Twitter, basically saying, just please don't kill any of the characters. Just don't kill any characters. Don't kill any characters. To which James Gunn gave a really good response, but I also believe a really good philosophy on the death of characters, significant characters, in these large shared cinematic universes. This is what James Gunn said. He said this in Twitter in reply. "So you don't think any characters in films should die? I can't agree. I think films help us to deal with our own mortality and the mortality of those we love, and seeing that through the lens of a story or fable or myth is of benefit to people. In addition, the death of some characters makes the survival of other characters more meaningful." I want to repeat that last part, although the first part was great too, but I want to repeat the last part. "In addition, the death of some characters makes the survival of others more meaningful." Rob, one of the big criticisms, obviously I'm a massive MCU fan. I love the MCU. I love the MCU films, some more than others, but I'm a big fan of the MCU, clearly. But as anybody who's watched me for any period of time knows, one of my personal frustrations with the MCU has been the whole issue of fake deaths. That they apparently kill a character, only that character comes back later in the movie, never actually died in the first place, is resurrected from somehow, they pull another dimensional version of them, which is just the same thing, blah, blah, blah. That has been one of the big drawbacks to me with the MCU. Because what it does, and I've said this a number of times, and this goes to what James Gunn has just said. What it does is, because they have faked deaths so many times, that when a character now dies, I don't get the full emotional impact of it because I don't really believe they're dead. I don't really believe they're gone. I don't believe it. You know, so even when Tony Stark dies at the end of Endgame, a very powerful scene, but that power was mitigated on me because, oh yeah, he's coming back though. He's going to be back. When we talked about this before at the end of Infinity War, that great scene, Tom Holland, "I don't want to go, Mr. Stark." "Don't worry, kid, you're not going anywhere. You got a contract for the next movie." I mean, that beautiful, powerful, wonderful scene was a little bit tempered by the fact that I just know he's coming back. Black Panther standing there reaching his hand out to help Okoye up, and then dying in front of her king dying in front of her eyes. There were people weeping, Rob, weeping in the theater I was in when I saw that movie. When T'Challa started to dust and died. But not me, because I just know he's coming back. You know he's coming back. And as a matter of fact, when Erin Cummings had never seen Captain America Winter Soldier. And her and Tom came over to watch it with me and Ann one night. And they have that great death scene of Nick Fury. And remember, Erin had not caught up on MCU films. She didn't know at the time what came after this. She goes, "Oh yeah, but he's not actually dead because they don't kill major characters in these movies. So he's not actually dead." So it was funny because I'm watching her having no emotional impact on her on the death because even she knows that Marvel doesn't really kill anybody unless they're secondary or side characters. Quicksilver, Yondu, things like, yeah, there have been a couple of characters that have died and stayed dead, but I mean, Loki has died and been brought back 4 or 5 times. I mean, everybody has died. It's just one of those things. And I like what James Gunn has said here, because in acknowledging that characters dying gives more meaning to the survival of others. When characters dying have no impact because you just know they're coming back, then a character surviving doesn't give you that big sense of relief either. So it goes both ways. I feel like you're kind of, what James Gunn is saying is, not only are you robbed of that heavy emotional moment when a character dies, but to James Gunn's words, you're also robbed of that great sigh of relief when your hero survives because you knew he wasn't going to die anyway. So I'll tell you what, Rob, I actually hope that in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it doesn't matter if it's well, Groot's been killed and brought back a couple of times already, like literally twice he's been killed and brought back. But whether it's Rocket or whether it's Star-Lord himself or Drax or Gamora or something, I hope one of the characters dies and really does die to start to instill this sense of actual threat when the characters are in action and death-threatening situations and you don't actually know if they're going to come out. You know, one of the things that people loved about, I know for me, Sons of Anarchy, like, don't get too attached to any of the characters, man. Because because any of them could die, I knew watching that show that any of these characters could die at any time. And when they're dead, they're gone. And so whenever a gun battle would break out or this knife fight would break out in Sons of Anarchy or there was this really tense situation, I would be on the edge of my seat, nails digging into the armchairs because I didn't know if they were going to make it. And, you know, Game of Thrones had the same thing. Sopranos had main characters killed off and on and on and on. And I think James Gunn is really onto something here when he says the death of main characters actually gives more meaning to those characters that survived. And I think he's absolutely right. And I'm sitting here hoping he carries through with that to give some of that oomph back to the MCU. Rob, you see James Gunn's comments. What did you make of them?
Well, I think he's right. But, you know, I mean, I think as a lifelong comic book reader, there have been many times where characters are killed off and they're brought back. They're licensed characters. They're characters that are on lunchboxes and in action figures. And I just understand that within the context of a comic book milieu, that a character dying and coming back is part of the genre. So while I don't, like you, I mean, I never really think anybody's totally gone. I mean, Quicksilver, the way Quicksilver was portrayed in the MCU, it was not like he was a cornerstone character. He's a cornerstone character in my mind in the comics. But I think that what James Gunn is saying is absolutely correct. But if you're a licensee or you hold the rights to those characters, which Disney does, it doesn't really behoove you to get rid of these characters forever, you know, because they're beloved. They're beloved to new generations all the time. And you know, I mean, these characters, the X-Men, for instance, have been around since the 60s. And shouldn't they have aged? Shouldn't they have all died of old age by now? I mean, it's not only that they don't die and stay dead, it's that they don't even age. And but I do think that one day there is going to be a significant death. Like I don't expect Hugh Jackman's Wolverine to ever come back because yes, he did age. And I think that movie really works and it has a tremendous power in it because you don't just lose Wolverine, but you lose Professor X too. And the film, it's all about mortality and it's all about what do you do? How do you rage against the dying of the light when you're in the last part of your own life? And can you still remain heroic in the face of your coming mortality? And I think the answer is yes. And like James Gunn said, the reason Logan is as powerful as it is because it's playing for keeps. And the audience knows that. And we feel that. And it's a better movie because of that. And I think James Gunn is absolutely right. But, you know, that doesn't mean that I don't think that Tony Stark, as you've said, might be coming back in the future, especially after Doolittle.
Especially after Doolittle. Well said. So the question here is, guys, what do you think about James Gunn's comments? Do you think that he's right, that the death of actual main characters gives more meaning to the others? Or do you see the other side as just like, listen, these are beloved characters, you can't knock them off, even though you could always bring them back in a reboot in 10 years, but whatever. How do you guys feel about it? Jump down into the comments section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys.